On the subject of preparedness, I've talked about it a few times. When I speak of preparedness, I try to do so in a way that won't scare you. But at the same time, I want to communicate the sense of urgency that you should be having to make a plan and execute on the plan. In all those times of speaking about different preparedness topics, I had yet to explain my reasons as to why. I kind of skipped over the why part because after the past 3 years, I didn't think it should be necessary to explain that, but I realized that some folks, they still may not get it. So I'm going to try to put it in terms that everybody can understand, and everybody will take this topic seriously. If you're like me, you remember very clearly the events of 9/11. On September the 11th of 2001, the Twin Towers were struck by a terrorist attack. And I remember very clearly what I was doing during the attack. I had, at the time, I still rode motorcycles, and I went to the motorcycle shop to check on the status of my motorcycle repair. So while I was waiting behind the counter, I noticed a couple of the shop employees, they were looking at a small TV screen behind the counter, and my first reaction was, well, that's rather rude because I'm a customer and they should be waiting on me, right? So anyway, after I watched them, I could tell that something very serious was going on. Once I realized the extent of the situation, I knew that our lives had, was in the process of changing forever. No one had ever dreamed that such a thing would ever take place in the country. Now, we look back on it now, and we see the images of former President Bush, and he was sitting at the grade school wherever he was at, and he was reading the grade school student's story. And then you've all seen the picture of him kind of tilting his head and receiving information from one of his agents. He had a very serious look on his face, and but at the same time he was trying not to look so serious where he would alarm the students. Soon after that he was whisked away, and nobody knew where he was at. And you saw everybody was watching the news, and at the time, all the talking heads on television were saying like, well, where is the president? He should be at his office. We should be hearing from him, yada, 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 and they were going on and on and on and on. Well, come to find out, they had executed a plan that had been in place for decades. The continuity of government plans had begun since the Eisenhower administration. That was back in the 50s. You're talking about plans that had been made during the Cold War. In the event of something like this, the president would be, taken to one secure location, the vice president to another, the joint chiefs somewhere, the Congress somewhere else. The government had already made its own plans at the taxpayer's expense, and leaving the taxpayers behind to, just whatever fate that happened to befall them. That right there should have told the American people something about what their government had planned for them or what they had not planned for them. While our leadership was whisked away to secure locations. We were left, with very little information and whatever resources we happened to have at the time. I can clearly remember that no Secret Service agent came to my home to check on me, to offer me supplies, and to take me to a more secure location because they were concerned about my welfare. That simply did not happen. That event right there should have cleared up any doubt as to whether you should be a prepper or not. The government is only concerned about preserving the government. No one is coming to save you. You are on your own. And we are not going to get a second chance. There are plenty of events going on in the world right now that should give us cause to take this seriously. Never have we been closer to nuclear war than we are right now.